Homestead, and welcome to my channel. In this video, I told some of you during General Conference, during the streams, that I was going to do this video where I'm comparing basically the Salt Lake area to Jerusalem and Israel. I turned, as you can see here, this is a map of Salt Lake. I turned it upside down and tried to roughly have the same orientation to match it up with Israel, okay, just for fun. This is something that I've always wanted to do. Is it important? No. Does it give maybe a little bit of evidence to the believing that that Salt Lake really is the headquarters of the Lord's church, and that this was meant to be, and that this is the true church? Maybe. I don't think anyone's testimony is hanging on this, but maybe it's been an answer for some. We're all individuals. So, okay. So let me just show you what we have here. Let me pull up my. Let's see. I'll go here. I'm gonna create a new layer. Okay. So right here we have Jerusalem on the map on the left, and then over here we have Salt Lake. And you see that if you go southeast, with the way that these maps are oriented, you have the Salt Lake, right? And then we have, of course, the connecting Jordan River. It goes something like this. It goes through Murray, which is that's where I'm originally from, Murray, Utah. Up here, you have the Jordan River that goes like this, and this is I think it's actually the border between modern-day Israel and Jordan. So Jordan is on this side of the Jordan River. Okay, so basically, if you're living, it's not a perfect example, of course, but if you're living on the west side of the valley, Kearns, Magna, West Valley, what's down here, Riverton, Harriman, those places, you would be in modern day Jordan if this, going with this thing that we're doing. And then the east side of the valley would be in Israel, including Murray, or at least the better half of Murray that I am from. Just kidding. Sandy, Draper. Okay. Now, Nazareth. Nazareth is up here, right? And so here's the Sea of Galilee. Here is Utah Lake. So those are the corresponding lakes. And so Nazareth is kind of, basically a little bit, it's more west than it is south of the Sea of Galilee. So in this case, if you were to try and match it up with something, you might come up with an answer kind of like maybe, I don't know, maybe Orem right here, maybe American Fork, which I think is right there. There's also, what's that other place? There's like one over here, Pleasant Grove. I don't know, maybe Pleasant Grove. I think Pleasant Grove is like right there, roughly. There's also Linden. So maybe kind of this area you could compare to Nazareth. And then Capernaum, which the last I checked, I don't think there's a whole lot of evidence, like archaeological evidence for Capernaum. Maybe there is now, but the last time I checked, I think it was like kind of being disputed. But I believe that the traditional idea is that it was like somewhere here on the north bank of the Sea of Galilee. I should look this up. I'm going to go, you're not going to see me go into the other window, but let's see. Where was Capernaum? Well, it shows up on Google Maps, so maybe there's not, maybe I'm just like thinking things. I don't know, but it is on the north shores. So, okay, so Capernaum is basically right here, and as you can see here, Capernaum, that would basically be Provo. You could make a case that Provo is kind of the Capernaum of the Salt Lake area, and that's where the Savior spent a lot of time, was in Capernaum. Bethlehem, that is actually just a little bit south of Jerusalem, like not very far at all. I think it's like, well, I don't know. It's like roughly in like that area. So if you were to find an equivalent with Salt Lake, you might say like right about here, maybe like the Woods Cross, um, North Salt Lake, maybe even the Bountiful area would kind of be like the Bethlehem of Salt Lake. So, that's kind of interesting. Um, there's not much else I would want to. Well, I don't know. You got Park City over here. Maybe Park City. If you were, again, guys, this is just for fun, so I don't want any comments like, "Oh, why are you doing? You shouldn't be doing this. This is bad." It's just for fun. Just relax. So the Park City, um, that might correspond to Tel Aviv. You could say maybe, or maybe Haifa or something like that. Okay, now what I wanted to do. Let's shift gears. Did I draw? No, okay, that's this layer. Now let's go over here and let's try and correspond land given to the different tribes of Israel and where those would roughly be on a Utah map. And this is actually my second time doing the video because I was trying to do it the first time. I thought it would be easy, but it turned out to actually be kind of hard. And this is definitely not perfect, but there is a couple interesting things about this, and I'll show you what they are. So let me pull up the drawing that I tried to do, and I'll show you what I came up with. Okay, so let's see, what layer are we on right here? It's that one. Okay, go back to my brush. This down here would be Reuben. Okay, so Salt Lake would be in Benjamin's territory. And it actually works out pretty nice to where Salt Lake City proper, if you're saying Jerusalem right here, if you corresponded that with downtown Salt Lake, then Salt Lake pretty much encompasses this area right here. So from the mountain all the way to over here where the airport would be. So that's actually kind of a good match. And then just immediately south, north of Benjamin was Ephraim. So over here, on this east side of the Jordan River, the east side of the valley, essentially, including Sandy, Draper, Murray, Holiday, Cottonwood Heights, right? Isn't that okay? It's been a while. The Midvale, uh, that would basically be the Ephraim area. South Salt Lake, the benches up here, up to the mountain. I don't know that it would necessarily go all the way to Park City. So Palmer, if you're watching this, I don't know if you're in the Ephraim area, but it would seem that you are at least in the Manasseh area. At least the half tribe of Manasseh that was on the west side of the Jordan River. So Manasseh would encompass possibly Draper, possibly just kind of this area, this like point of the mountain, and then up into the mountains, and maybe all the way to Park City. I don't know. The interesting thing is, is that you have Ephraim here, and this that encompasses basically the Salt Lake Valley. If you want to not get too specific with it, Ephraim and Manasseh kind of line up really nicely with the Salt Lake Valley, and that's where a lot of members of the church are, and that this was the place that was originally established when the pioneers came. So it's just kind of interesting. If you go up here, you have Issachar, that would probably encompass Lehi, Linden. I'm not sure. You have Zebulun right here that might take up part of Orem, American Fork. You have Asher over here that doesn't really take in anything, and then it would seem that Provo would probably be within Naphtali, or Naphtali, however you want to pronounce that. And then up here, Dan, I don't know, you could stretch it over here and have Dan in Nephi, or you could maybe stretch Manasseh and have Manasseh encompass Nephi. I don't know. But if you live in Saratoga Springs, or in Eagle Mountain, that's in that would be in Manasseh. So, it's not perfect, but there you go. That's the best that I could do, and I'm not going to do any more than that. I guess I should have done Judah, huh? So I guess, okay, let's do it. Okay, so Judah would it would come all the way like down here like this, and maybe even go into Idaho. And then Simeon would probably be like this. It would probably encompass Logan, Smithfield, Tremonton, Ogden, Clearfield, Layton. That would be within Judah. Um, so I think, isn't this Davis County up here? There's like Weber in Davis County. I'm not sure. So over here is Judah. Okay, and then if you go like this, that would also be a border of Judah. So just something interesting to think about. You'll have to let me know if you know, what you think in the comments. Okay, now let's look at, I wanted to see, okay, so if that's the case, can we can we find a can we find a Babylon equivalent? And like a Persian equivalent, because you know, Babylon was not a good thing. Basically, it represents wickedness. And then after that, you had after Babylon's time, you had Persia. So, okay, so let me switch to red here. So here's Jerusalem on this map. Here's Salt Lake on this map. So for Jerusalem, uh, if you go northeast, you know, you get to, you know, I'm not exactly sure. I think Ur was kind of like in this area, or Babylon. I'm not sure, but if you do the same, if you do the same thing on this map, it's not perfect, of course. But if you come up this way, well, you get to Las Vegas, or you know, if you don't want to say Las Vegas, you could maybe say Los Angeles. Los Angeles or something like that. Over here is Persia in Iran, so maybe you could say Vegas represents Babylon. And Vegas, it is Sin City. That's like an unofficial name for Las Vegas. It's Sin City. And then over here, maybe you could say California as a whole would be like the Persian Empire, maybe. Or maybe you could say that California would be the Babylon in this example. But you guys, don't take offense. This is just for fun. I don't know that there's necessarily anything to it. I don't think you're bad if you live in California. My friend Troy Abels from the Last Dispensation channel, he lives in California. He's not bad. I guess he's just like captive, though. He's a captive in Babylon. Or in Persia, however you want to look at it. But it is kind of interesting, though, isn't it? I think it's kind of interesting when you look at it this way. Jordan would be kind of like, well, no, we're thinking about the ancient world, so. And you know, these aren't necessarily I mean, like Babylon, the borders of Babylon. I don't remember exactly what it looks like, but it's, you know, it would have been something like this, you know. So in this case, it would have been more like, ooh, like all of this right here. But anyway, okay, let's move on to New York. And, oh, oops, that, spoiler alert. Okay, so New York, right? Okay, so here's Salt Lake down here. Up here is Jerusalem. Okay, and if you're looking at major cities, if we're going beyond the Babylonian and Persian Median empires, first you come to Greece is after that, right? You have the Macedonian Empire, so kind of like here. Which I don't know what that necessarily would, if it would match up with anything on the United States. Possibly, I don't know, possibly Chicago, maybe. But what stuck out to me was New York City, right? New York City and Rome. Because if there was a Rome of the United States, it would probably be New York City. It wouldn't be Washington D.C. so much. I don't think people really associate, because usually when you see the clocks, you know, you have like the big cities of the world. You have New York, London, Paris, Rome. So that's why I'm saying that. If you're looking at it from that context, you could say that New York City is basically the Rome of the United States. And it's interesting the comparison here. Now, one thing that's interesting about New York City, and many people know this, okay, so if Italy is where Rome was, and Italy is a place of Italians, uh, what about New York? Well, a very interesting thing about New York, I pulled this up. This is from Wikipedia. New York, meaning New York City, New York City is home to the third largest Italian population outside of Italy, behind Buenos Aires, Argentina, which is in the first place, and then Sao Paulo, Brazil, second. Over 2.6 million Italians and Italian Americans live in the greater New York metro area, with about 800,000 living within one of the 5 New York City boroughs. So, what's kind of interesting is that in the United States, the one place where you find the most Italians or people of Italian descent is, in fact, New York City. And when you look at these maps, it's kind of stunning. It's even stunning when you think, like, if you were to compare, like, the Iberian Peninsula right here to Maine, or if you wanted to include, like, Canada, because, like, how it's like if you're looking at the United States as an animal, the head would basically be Maine. Or if you wanted to also include the rest of North America, you would include this area up here, Canada. So it's interesting. Am I onto something? I don't know. Did the Lord plan it this way? I don't know. But there are a number of coincidences. Now, another way that you could look at it, another thing that I realized is, like, say that it's not New York, say that it's Chicago, which I think Chicago might also be known for Italians. I know that there's, like, the Chicago pizza. I don't know if that means that there's Italians there. Let me search. I'm going on to another window that you can't see. How many Italians in Chicago? Question mark. About 500,000. Chicago and its suburbs have a historical population of Italian Americans. I want to see if it's like maybe the second largest. Let me do large. Chicago had the third largest ethnic Italian population in the nation, surpassed only by New York City and Philadelphia. Now this is in the history section, so I don't know if that's changed since that time, because it's talking about the 1920s. But I think still to this day, people could associate Chicago with Italy as well. So if you wanted to have Chicago be the Italy, the interesting thing about that is it's close. It's not on Michigan, like how Rome is on the Italian peninsula. But everyone knows, that Italy, it's in the shape of a boot, right? It's in the shape of a boot. Everyone knows that. And then with Michigan, everyone knows that it's in the shape of a hand. It's in the shape of like a mitten, So that's another kind of strange happening. I don't know what to make of it or if it means anything, but it works out kind of nicely, doesn't it? It's almost like the United States, North America, is roughly, very, very, very roughly, an upside down Europe, right? Which is kind of poetic, Now there's not, you don't have a Mediterranean Sea. The Mediterranean Sea would, on the United States, that would look something like, I don't know, like like this. You do have the Great Lakes right here, and you have this lake. I can't remember if this is Lake Superior, but you have this lake that is kind of in the shape of the Mediterranean Sea. So, like, the proportions are off, but some of the key elements are kind of there. So, okay, that's basically all that I have. It surprised me a little bit. I feel like a lot of it fits really nicely with Vegas and Los Angeles and Babylon, Persia. It's interesting. I like this kind of stuff. I hope you do too. So just let me know if you had any thoughts in the comments below. In the comments below. We could always revisit this if there's anything else that you wanted to look at that maybe I missed. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe. Like this video if you liked it. make sure to share it with anyone that finds this kind of stuff interesting, and I'll talk to you guys later.